My Uncle Ray spent every Saturday morning of his retirement on his hands and knees pulling weeds. From the time the snow melted in April until the ground froze in November, that was his Saturday. 2 hours, sometimes 3, in the same patch of garden along the side of his house, ripping out crabgrass, dandelion, plantain, chickweed, and creeping Charlie, year after year, decade after decade. He was 81 years old, and his back was wrecked, his knees were wrecked, and the weeds were still winning. One year, his neighbor Marge moved in. Marge was a gardener, too, but she did not weed, not once. Her garden looked stunning all summer. No bare dirt anywhere, no weeds anywhere. And one Saturday morning, Ray finally walked over and asked her how on earth she did it. Marge laughed. She walked him along her foundation and along the slope behind her garage and pointed out the 9 plants you are going to learn about in this video. Plants that grow so dense, so fast, and so close to the ground that weeds physically cannot find a foothold. Plants that smother out the weeds before they ever get started. Plants that turn bare dirt into a living carpet that just keeps getting more beautiful every year. Ray ripped out half his weed garden the next weekend, planted these instead, and never weeded again. He told me it added 5 years to his life. I believe him. That is what today's video is about. 9 ground covers that absolutely choke out weeds, fill in fast, and look spectacular doing it. By the time you finish this video, you will know exactly which one to plant in every problem area of your yard. The shady strip under the big maple, the hot dry slope by the driveway, the cold north side of the house, the patch around the mailbox where grass refuses to grow. Every problem zone has the right ground cover, and once you put it in, the weeding is over. Before we get into the list, you need to understand exactly how a good ground cover smothers weeds, because it is not magic. It is biology and physics. Weeds need 3 things to germinate. They need bare soil. They need sunlight on that soil, and they need warmth. A dense ground cover takes away all 3. The leaves form a closed canopy that blocks sunlight from reaching the soil surface. That same canopy keeps the ground a few degrees cooler than open dirt. The roots of the ground cover absorb available water and nutrients before any weed seedling can grab them. So when a weed seed lands in a thick patch of ground cover, it tries to germinate. The seedling pushes up about a 1/4 inch, runs into a wall of established leaves overhead, gets no light, gets no warmth, and dies before it ever sets a single true leaf. That is how a real weed-smothering ground cover works. It is not destroying any existing plant. It is simply preventing the weed seedling from ever surviving long enough to take hold. The second thing to know is that the very best ground covers spread by multiple methods at once. They have above-ground stems that root where they touch soil. They have underground rhizomes that send up new shoots, and they self-seed. That triple spreading mechanism is what allows a single small starter plant to fill a 10-foot patch within 2 years and stay filled forever. The third thing to know is that not every ground cover suits every spot. Sun versus shade, dry versus moist, foot traffic versus no foot traffic. Each of the 9 plants on today's list has a specific best use case. I will tell you exactly which conditions each plant loves, so you can match the plant to your problem zone perfectly. If you are new to Everbloom Garden, welcome. This is the channel for real American gardeners who want plants that actually work in their yards. New video every single week. Goal. Hit subscribe and ring the bell so you do not miss anything. I will link related videos in the description below. After this one, the perennials that come back thicker every year, and the drought-proof perennials that thrive without watering, pair perfectly. Now let's dig into the 9. The first weed-smothering ground cover on our list is one of the most fragrant and beloved shade carpeters in American gardens, sweet woodruff, Latin name, Galium odoratum. Sweet woodruff has been grown in monastic and cottage gardens for over 1,000 years, and it has been cultivated in American shade gardens since colonial times. Old herbal traditions use the dried leaves to scent linen closets and freshen rooms because the dried foliage smells like fresh hay and vanilla. The plant forms low mats about 6 to 8 inches tall, with whorls of narrow lance-shaped bright green leaves arranged in star-like circles around upright stems. In May, it explodes into a carpet of tiny, pure white star-shaped flowers, each about a 1/4 inch across, but completely covering the foliage so the whole patch looks like fresh fallen snow has settled across your shade garden. The fragrance from the dried leaves is sweet, vanilla-like, hay-like, and absolutely classic. The aroma is the source of the traditional German springtime drink called Maibowle, where the leaves are infused into white wine, but I am not recommending you drink your ground cover. Just enjoy how the patch smells when you brush past it on a warm May afternoon. Hardy from zones 4 through 8, sweet woodruff wants partial to full shade and rich, moist, well-drained soil. This is one of the absolute best ground covers for the shaded north side of a foundation, under a tree canopy, or in any spot where grass refuses to grow because of the shade. It spreads by both runners and self-seeding. Plant starts about 12 inches apart, water for the first month, mulch with shredded leaves, and within 2 seasons, you have a solid carpet that smothers everything in its path. My top picks, the straight species Galium odoratum, is what most folks grow, and it is absolutely lovely on its own. Look for nursery-grown starts at any quality independent garden center in spring. Once established, the patch needs essentially 0 maintenance. The leaves stay green from April through October. The white flowers cover the whole patch in May, and the dried foliage in fall and winter has the same sweet hay fragrance that traditional German sweet woodruff is famous for. One trick: if your patch starts looking a little thin in midsummer because the spring leaves get tired in heat, mow it lightly with a string trimmer set high or a sharp pair of shears. Cut everything back to about 2 inches above the ground. Water it once. Within 10 days, fresh new leaves emerge and the patch looks brand new for the rest of the season. Second on the list is one of the toughest and most colorful ground covers ever introduced to American gardens, ajuga, also called bugleweed or carpet bugle. Latin name, Ajuga reptans. Ajuga forms tight, low rosettes of glossy oval leaves that spread by underground runners to form a solid living mat about 3 to 6 inches tall. The foliage comes in absolutely stunning colors: deep burgundy purple, glossy chocolate bronze, variegated cream and pink, silver with green veins, solid emerald green. In late spring and early summer, the entire patch sends up 4 to 6 inch flower spikes covered in tubular blue, purple, or pink flowers that bees and hummingbirds love. After the flowers finish, the colorful foliage carries the patch beautifully all the way through frost. Hardy from zones 3 through 9, ajuga wants partial shade to full sun, with the colored leaf varieties holding their best color in part shade. It tolerates almost any soil from heavy clay to sandy loam and it tolerates moderate drought once established. Plant starts 12 inches apart, water through the first month, and walk away. The patch will be solid by year 2. My top picks. Catlin's Giant has huge, shiny burgundy-purple leaves and the tallest flower spikes in the family, sometimes reaching 8 or 9 inches above the foliage. Bronze Beauty is the classic deep, bronze-purple selection that has been grown in American gardens for decades and is still the most reliable workhorse for weed coverage. Burgundy Glow has stunning variegated cream, pink, and burgundy leaves that look almost like watercolor when they catch morning light. Black Scallop has the darkest leaves of any variety, nearly black-purple, with a slightly ruffled scalloped edge, and it absolutely glows when planted next to silver or chartreuse companions. Chocolate Chip is a dwarf miniature variety with tiny chocolate brown leaves perfect for between flagstones or filling small spaces where the larger varieties would be too much. Pink Lightning is a newer variegated selection with pink edges on bright green leaves and is a beautiful brighter alternative to Burgundy Glow. All 6 varieties form a solid carpet that physically excludes weeds. One important note, a juga in the wrong spot can spread into a lawn, so if you have a turf grass lawn next to where you are planting it, install a 6-inch deep edging or plan to edge it with hand shears once a year to keep it in bounds. Number 3 is one of the most versatile shade ground covers, and the one most folks recognize even if they do not know its name, Pachysandra. Latin name, Pachysandra terminalis. Pachysandra has been the standard go-to evergreen ground cover for shaded American foundations and yards since the 1920s. The plant forms upright stems 6 to 10 inches tall, topped with whorls of glossy dark green leaves that look like miniature crowns. In April and May, small spikes of fragrant cream-white flowers rise above the foliage for a brief but lovely show. The real value of Pachysandra is its evergreen nature. The leaves stay green all winter long in most zones, providing year-round structure when most other ground covers go dormant. Hardy from zones 4 through 8, Pachysandra wants partial to full shade and rich, moist, well-drained soil, amended with compost. It is one of the few ground covers that will thrive in deep shade conditions where almost nothing else grows, including under mature evergreen trees. Plant starts 12 inches apart, mulch with shredded leaves, and water through the first season. By year 2, you have a solid green carpet that excludes weeds and stays beautiful in every season. My top picks. The standard Pachysandra terminalis is the workhorse and what most folks plant in their first Pachysandra bed. It has been the default shade ground cover at thousands of American homes for generations. Green Sheen has extra glossy leaves that almost look polished and adds a slightly more refined look to a foundation planting. Variegata has cream-edged leaves for a more subtle look in deep shade where you want a bit of brightness without going full silver. The native Allegheny Pachysandra, Pachysandra procumbens, is a slightly different species native to the southeastern United States, with bluish-green leaves marbled with silvery patterns and an even tougher constitution in southern climates. It is also more naturalistic-looking than the standard Japanese Pachysandra, and a wonderful choice for native plant enthusiasts. Silver Edge is another variegated selection with thinner, pure silver edges around dark green leaves. All 5 form a solid weed-blocking mat that lasts for decades. One trick. After 3 or 4 years, take hand pruners or head shears in early spring, just before new growth pushes, and shear the entire patch back to about 4 inches above the ground. This rejuvenates the patch and removes any tired old foliage. Within 6 weeks, fresh new growth fills back in, and the patch looks twice as dense and twice as healthy as before. Fourth on the list is a low-growing native shade carpeter with one of the most charming hidden flowers in the entire plant kingdom, wild ginger. Latin name Asarum canadense for the American native species, or Asarum europaeum for the slightly glossier European species. Wild ginger forms low mats about 6 to 8 inches tall, with heart-shaped leaves about 3 inches across, that overlap to form a solid leafy carpet. The leaves are matte deep green for the American species, and glossier, rounder dark green for the European species. Both look gorgeous as solid masses. The flowers are the surprise. They are tiny brown-purple bell-shaped blooms that hide on the ground beneath the foliage where pollinators like ground beetles and slugs find them. You have to push the leaves aside to see the flowers, which is part of the magic for kids and grandkids who are introduced to the plant. Hardy, from zones 4 through 8, wild ginger wants partial to deep shade and rich, moist, well-drained soil with plenty of organic matter. This is the perfect ground cover for a deeply shaded woodland garden where you want native habitat character and a sense that the planting actually belongs in the place where it grows. American native species especially evoke the feeling of an old-growth forest floor, which is one of the most beautiful and meditative settings you can create in a backyard. Plant starts 12 inches apart, water through the first season, mulch with shredded leaves, and the patch fills in within 2 to 3 years to form a thick weed-blocking mat. My top picks, Asarum canadense, is the Eastern American native species, and the right choice for most American gardens. Asarum europaeum is the glossier European species, evergreen in zones 6 and warmer, and a beautiful refined look. Asarum splendens has marbled silver leaves and is a stunning newer introduction for ornamental shade gardens. Asarum shuttleworthi is a southeastern American native with mottled silver-green leaves and a more compact spreading habit. All 4 form solid weed-excluding carpets that will live happily in your shade garden for decades. One bonus: the crushed leaves and roots have a faint ginger fragrance, which is where the common name comes from. The plant is not the same as culinary ginger and should not be eaten, but the fragrance from a brushed leaf is one of the loveliest small surprises in a shade garden. Plant number 5 is one of the most colorful and adaptable ground covers in the entire perennial world, and a plant that has been brightening up American foundations for over a century: dead nettle, also called spotted dead nettle or lamium, Latin name Lamium maculatum. Despite the unfortunate common name, this is not a stinging nettle, and it does not sting. The dead in the name comes from Old English meaning false or look-alike, because the leaves resemble true nettle, but the plant is harmless. Lamium forms low mats about 6 to 10 inches tall with attractive silver-marked or solid silver leaves and clusters of small hooded flowers in pink, white, or purple from May all the way through October, sometimes even later in mild climates. The combination of bright silver foliage and continuous bloom is unmatched in the ground cover world. Hardy from zones 3 through 8, lamium wants partial shade to morning sun and average to moist, well-drained soil. It is one of the most adaptable shade ground covers available and tolerates a wide range of conditions, including dry shade, which is notoriously difficult. Plant starts 12 inches apart, water for the first month, and the patch fills in within 2 seasons. My top picks. White Nancy has pure white flowers and almost completely silver leaves, looking like a glowing carpet in any shade garden, especially after a light rain when the silver leaves shimmer with droplets. Beacon. Silver has bright pink flowers and silver leaves with thin green margins, the most widely available variety at most independent garden centers. Pink pewter is a soft pink flowering variety with silver pewter leaves and an exceptional spreading habit. Purple Dragon has the largest deep magenta flowers in the entire Lamium family and stunning silver foliage that makes the magenta blooms practically vibrate. Orium has chartreuse yellow leaves and soft violet flowers, a beautiful variant for adding light to a dim corner where you want extra brightness. Anne Greenaway has tricolor variegated leaves of green, gold, and silver, and is one of the most photographed Lamium cultivars. All 6 spread to form solid mats that physically smother weeds within 2 seasons. One trick. Lamium can look tired by midsummer, especially in hotter climates. Take hand pruners or head shears in early July, after the first big bloom flush, and cut the entire patch back to about 3 inches. Water it once. Within 2 to 3 weeks, fresh foliage and a second flush of flowers cover the patch, and it looks beautiful again all the way through fall. All right, we are halfway through our 9 weed-smothering ground covers, and before we continue, I want to share something important about ground covers that most gardening books skip. The biggest mistake folks make with ground covers is planting them, and then leaving the spaces between starts open for the first year while they fill in. Those open spaces are exactly where weeds will grow. Crabgrass, chickweed, and dandelion seeds blow in on the wind, hit that bare soil between your ground cover starts, germinate, and you spend the first year fighting weeds in the very bed you planted to eliminate weeds. Here is the fix. After you plant your ground cover starts, immediately mulch the entire bed with 3 full inches of shredded bark, shredded leaves, or pine straw. That mulch layer suppresses weed germination during the year, or 2 it takes the ground cover to fill in. By the time the mulch breaks down, the ground cover has formed a solid canopy. Now the leaves do the weed suppression, and the mulch is no longer needed. That single tip, mulching heavily during establishment, will save you 10 times more weeding labor than any other tip in this video. The second important point, ground covers do not eliminate edge weeding. Wherever the ground cover meets a lawn, a path, or a different garden bed, weeds can germinate at that boundary. Plan to do 1 round of edge weeding per year, usually in late April or early May, to keep the boundary clean. Other than that, a properly established ground cover is essentially weed-free for life. Number 6 is one of the toughest, most colorful, sun-loving ground covers, and a plant that has been brightening up American hillsides for generations. Snow in summer. Latin name, Cerastium tomentosum. Snow in summer forms low silver mats about 6 inches tall with tiny lance-shaped fuzzy gray-white leaves that look like the plant is dusted in snow, even in midsummer. In May and June, the entire patch erupts in pure white, 5-petaled star flowers about 1/2 inch across, so densely covered that the silver foliage almost disappears beneath them. The bloom show is unmistakable, and a mature snow in summer patch in full bloom looks exactly like its name, a drift of fresh snow in the middle of a summer garden. Hardy from zones 3 through 7, snow in summer wants full sun and dry, lean, well-drained soil. This is the ground cover for hot, dry slopes, rocky banks, and gravel-edged borders where most plants would burn up. It hates rich soil, hates heavy clay, and absolutely hates wet feet, but it thrives in sandy, gravelly, or rocky conditions where almost nothing else will grow. Plant starts 12 inches apart, water through the first month only, and after that essentially never water again. My top picks. The straight species Cerastium tomentosum is what most folks grow and what is most widely available at any quality garden center in spring. Yo-yo is a slightly more compact selection with stronger stems that hold up better in storms and stays in tighter clumps. Silver tepic, sold as silver carpet, has the most intensely silver foliage and the densest flower cover, making it the showstopper of the family. Snow crystals is another excellent compact selection with extra large flowers held just above the silver mat. All four are workhorses for hot, dry, difficult sites where most other plants would simply give up. One important rule: after the late spring bloom finishes, the silver foliage often looks tired and ragged in midsummer. Shear the entire patch back to about 3 inches above the ground in early July, using head shears or a string trimmer. Within 2 weeks, fresh silver foliage fills back in, and the patch looks gorgeous through frost. Skip that midsummer haircut, and the patch can look brown and ratty by August. Do the haircut, and the patch stays beautiful all season. Plant number 7 is one of the most colorful and fast-spreading ground covers in the entire shade garden, and one of the few ground covers whose foliage is the entire show. Creeping Jenny, also called moneywort, Latin name Lysimachia numularia. Creeping Jenny forms a flat trailing mat 1 to 2 inches tall with rounded coin-shaped leaves about 3/4 of an inch across all along thin trailing stems. In summer, it produces small bright yellow cup-shaped flowers, but the real attraction is the foliage. The most popular variety, aurea, has chartreuse gold leaves that absolutely glow in any shaded or part-shaded garden bed. Hardy from zones 3 through 9, Creeping Jenny wants partial shade to full sun, with the gold variety holding its color best, with morning sun and afternoon shade. It loves moist soil, but tolerates a wide range of conditions, and is even drought-tolerant once established. It is one of the few ground covers that thrives at the edge of a pond or in a poorly drained low spot. Plant starts 12 to 15 inches apart, water through the first season, and within one growing season the patch is solid. My top picks: the standard species Lysimachia numularia has bright green leaves and is the most aggressive and toughest variety, the right choice for fast coverage of a difficult area. Aurea is the chartreuse gold variety, and the one most folks plant for color in shaded woodland beds. Goldilocks is a slightly more compact gold variety with smaller leaves and a tidier overall habit. Persian chocolate has bronze purple leaves that contrast beautifully with the bright yellow flowers. All four form solid, fast-spreading carpets that smother weeds within a single season once established. The chartreuse gold types are particularly stunning when paired with deep burgundy ajuga and silver lamium in a layered shade bed composition. One important note: Creeping Jenny is on the watch list as potentially invasive in some northern states, particularly when planted near natural waterways. Plant it in a contained garden bed away from streams, ponds, or wetlands, or check with your local extension office for guidance in your area. In a typical suburban yard or garden bed, it is a fantastic and well-behaved ground cover. Number 8 on our list is one of the loveliest, most graceful, low-growing ground covers, and a plant that fills in faster than almost anything else on this list: Mazus. Latin name Mazus reptans. Mazus forms a flat creeping mat just 1 to 2 inches tall, with small lance-shaped bright green leaves and clusters of tiny snapdragon-like flowers in violet blue, pink or white, from May through July. Each individual flower is only about half an inch across, but a mature Mazus patch in full bloom looks like a miniature violet-blue carpet covering the ground. The plant is happy to be walked on, which makes it one of the very best choices for filling between flagstones or stepping stones, where it tolerates light to moderate foot traffic without complaint. Hardy from zones 4 through 8, Mazus wants partial shade to morning sun and rich, moist, well-drained soil. It is happiest with consistent moisture and does not handle prolonged drought well, so plant it in a spot where you can give it occasional water in dry summers. Plants start 6 to 8 inches apart, much closer than the other ground covers on this list because of its small size. Water through the first season, and within 10 weeks, the patch fills in completely. My top picks. The standard species Mazus reptans has classic violet-blue flowers and is what most garden centers carry. Mazus reptans albus is a pure white flowered selection that pairs beautifully with darker plants. Mazus reptans purple has deeper toned violet-purple flowers. All three are reliable. One bonus use. Mazus is one of the very best plants for filling in around stepping stones in a path, between paving cracks, or along the edges of patio stones. The plant tolerates light foot traffic, fills in fast, and adds soft natural texture to any hardscape. Plant 100 starter plugs along a long stone path, and you will have a magical living stone walkway within a single season. The 9th and last ground cover on our list is one of the most charming, drought-proof, and surprising plants you can put in a sunny rock garden or dry slope. Hens and chicks, Latin name sempervivum. Hens and chicks form tight rosettes of fleshy, succulent leaves about 2 to 4 inches across, in colors ranging from emerald green to deep burgundy to silvery blue to bicolor combinations. The original parent plant is the hen, and as it grows, it produces dozens of smaller offset rosettes around its base, called chicks. Those chicks slowly grow into hens themselves, producing their own chicks, and within a few seasons you have a solid mat of overlapping rosettes. Hens and chicks were a fixture in colonial American gardens for one specific reason. Folks planted them on top of stone walls and on the slate roofs of cabins and barns because the plant requires almost no soil and supposedly protected against lightning strikes. The folk belief is mostly forgotten, but the plant remains one of the easiest, toughest, most adorable ground covers ever brought to American gardens. Hardy from zones 3 through 9, hens and chicks want full sun and lean, gritty, extremely well-drained soil. They thrive on rocky banks, gravel paths, between flagstones, on top of stone walls, and in container plantings where soil drainage is sharp. They absolutely hate wet feet and will rot in heavy clay or soggy spots. Plants start 6 to 8 inches apart, water sparingly the first month, and after that essentially never. My top picks. Sempervivum tectorum is the classic European species and what most folks have inherited from a grandmother's garden. Pacific blue ice is a stunning silvery blue selection that almost looks frosted year-round. Bronco has deep burgundy red rosettes that get even darker with cold weather, peaking in color in fall and winter. Cobweb is fascinating because the rosettes look spun with white spiderweb-like fibers across the top, an actual botanical adaptation that helps the plant retain moisture in dry climates. Black is one of the darkest near-black varieties and looks especially dramatic when paired with silvery blue selections. Hens and Chicks Mix is a multi-pack of assorted colors sold by many mail-order nurseries. that gives you instant variety in a single planting. All 6 are reliable, and mixing several colors in one bed gives you a tapestry that looks absolutely gorgeous all year, especially in winter when most other ground covers are dormant. One last note: once every 5 to 7 years, the original hen of each rosette produces a tall flower spike with star-shaped pink flowers, and after flowering, that hen dies. This is normal and is called monocarpic flowering. The surrounding chicks immediately fill in the gap, so the patch stays solid. The blooms are actually quite pretty and worth letting them happen. Before we wrap up, here is how to combine these 9 ground covers into a complete weed-blocking yard plan. For the deeply shaded north side of a foundation or under a mature tree canopy, plant pachysandra and wild ginger together. Both thrive in deep shade, both are evergreen or nearly so in most zones, and they form a permanent year-round carpet. For a partly shaded woodland garden bed, mix sweet woodruff and lamium for spring fragrance, summer flowers, and silver foliage all season. Add a juga in the brighter spots where you want a burst of intense leaf color and spring flower spikes. For a sunny dry slope or rocky bank, plant snow in summer and hens and chicks together. Both want lean, dry soil. Both are nearly indestructible, and they create a silvery textured carpet that handles full afternoon sun and 0 rain for weeks at a time. For partly shaded paths and stepping stone areas, plant mazoose between the stones and creeping jenny along the edges. The mazoose tolerates light foot traffic and fills in cracks beautifully with its violet-blue spring flowers and bright green leaves. The creeping jenny adds bright chartreuse glow at the path edges and fills any low spots where standing water sometimes collects. Together, the two transform any plain stepping stone path into a soft living walkway that looks like it has always been there. One more layered combination tip. Wherever 2 of these ground covers meet, you can let them mingle naturally without rigid borders, and the contrast between leaf shapes and colors creates more visual interest than either plant alone. Total cost for one of each plant at nursery sizes is around $120, but most ground covers are sold in flats of 50 starter plugs for about $35 per flat, which is the most economical way to plant a large area. Annual maintenance after establishment is essentially nothing. 1 round of edge weeding in late April or early May, 1 midsummer haircut for the lamium and snow in summer, and a light leaf mulching in fall. Done. 2 quick mistakes to avoid before I let you go. The first is planting ground covers too far apart to save money on starter plants. 12 inches between starts is the standard recommendation, and the temptation is always to space them 18 or 20 inches apart, to use fewer plants and save on the upfront cost. That savings is false economy. Wider spacing means a much longer fill-in period, more weed pressure during establishment, and significantly more frustration during the first year. Plant them at the recommended spacing, or even slightly closer if you can afford it for a faster solid coverage. Mulch heavily with 3 full inches of shredded leaves or pine straw, and let the plants do their job. By year 2, the bed is closed. The mulch has decomposed into the soil enriching it, and the weed pressure essentially ends forever. The second mistake is letting fast-spreading ground covers move into the wrong areas. A juga, creeping jenny, and lamium can all spread into adjacent lawns or beds where you do not want them, especially if the soil moisture is high. Plan ahead from day 1. Install a steel or aluminum edging at least 6 inches deep around the bed perimeter at planting time. Alternatively, commit to 1 round of hand edging in spring with a sharp spade cutting a clean 3-inch deep trench around the perimeter to sever any escaping runners. That single act of containment is what separates a controlled, beautiful ground cover bed from a takeover situation. With either edging in place, you maintain absolute control over where the planting lives, and the rest of your yard stays exactly the way you designed it. And that is the list. 9 ground covers that choke out weeds forever. Sweet woodruff, ajuga, pachysandra, wild ginger, limium, snow in summer, creeping jenny, mazus, and hens and chicks. Plant them this spring, mulch heavily for the first season, water through establishment, and prepare for a yard where the weeding is finally over. If this video helped you, please hit the like button. It helps more folks find this channel. Hit subscribe if you have not already, and ring the little bell so you do not miss new videos. I have a video coming up next week on cold hardy perennials for harsh northern winters, and another on plants that bloom for 12 straight weeks. Drop a comment below and tell me which of these 9 ground covers is already growing in your yard, or which one you are most excited to plant this year, and which U.S. state and zone you are gardening in. I read every single comment, friends, and your stories often inspire next week's videos and help me decide what topic to cover next. Until next time, friends, happy planting from all of us here at Everbloom Garden.